Chapter 2 Practically on Fire. After finishing the exam with 5 minutes to spare, Takara joins the fray to walk towards the locker rooms. She changes into athletic shorts and a loose-fitting t-shirt. When it comes to using her quirk, it's best for her to have room for crystals to grow without tearing the fabric. Especially in situations like this, where she's unsure of whether or not she'll need to cover her full body in them. She tucks the wire and the cutting disc into her waistband to be used if necessary. As Takara heads towards the testing area, she runs through a mental checklist of everything Chemex had said to expect. The basic villains are robots worth 1, 2, and 3 points depending on their size. The fourth villain doesn't have any points and was just represented with a question mark. I can assume that villain is the giant one they sometimes use during the sports festival. If that's true, then what she said was right. I should choose to retreat. I have no chance of fighting that thing. Not when I have no clue where the wiring is on that thing. Probably not close enough to the ground to make a precision attack. The girl takes her hair down from the half pony and ties it into a regular ponytail. Making it to her assigned exam arena, she begins to stretch out her muscles. This is what I've been training for. I can do this. The doors to the training grounds lumber open, and Chemex calls from her crow's nest in the square. Go, go, go! Takara hustles through the gates with her fellow students, weaving through the buildings and trying to stake her claim on a secluded area. She extends the crystals in her arms and the backs of her hands to their full length, covering the exposed skin with a sturdy crystalline armor. As the girl turns down a new street, she is faced with a few large robots, 2 of the 3-pointers and 1 of the 1-pointers. Here we go, she whispers to herself. Takara rushes at the robot closest to her, the 3-pointer. Before it can fully turn around, she drives her arms through the metal up to her elbows, grabbing whatever wires she can and pulling. The faux villain shudders as it reaches for Takara, but she leaps back. Where would the motherboard be? The brunette looks up at the beast of machinery, trying to find the best place to target. Smoke pours from the holes Takara created, and a horrible wrenching sound fills the air as the robot chugs forward. It jerks to a stop, and the girl backs up as it sputters into motion once more. The 2 other robots turn their attention to the commotion, their red sensors locking in on the girl. With the 2 other machines racing forward, Takara takes off in a sprint. The smoking robot grinds to a halt once more as it reaches its behemoth hand toward her. Before it can crush her, Takara dodges to the side, then jumps up to grab the outstretched arm. She uses the sharp rocks on her hands to impale the metal for handholds. The girl climbs, and upon reaching the shoulder of the robot, Takara notices the multicolored wires exposed between the head and the main body. It takes only a moment to cut those and jump to the incoming 3-pointer as it bowls over its deactivated twin. Takara impales her hands into the chest of the robot and makes the climb once more, swinging behind it to chop at its wires as well. The robot reaches its arms back to either grab Takara or squash her like a mosquito, but she is able to fully sever the wires. With the power finally disconnected and that much weight off balance, the robot begins to fall backwards. The brunette finds herself in a new sort of danger. She grapples onto the head to avoid being crushed. She has no time to turn, trusts her gut as she backflips from the 3-pointer. Extending the jade on her legs mid-air, Takara brings her foot down on the head of the 1-pointer and feels the metal crumple under her. However, she didn't account for what would happen after. The girl's momentum carries her tumbling back as the 1-pointer falls onto the scrap heap that is the 2 other defeated robots. Regaining her bearings, she tallies the points to herself. 7 points down, a hell of a lot more to go. Takara continues running down the street, using what she now knows about the robots and their wiring to deactivate a dozen more before the first 5 minutes is over. 29 points, she tells herself, busting down another 2-pointer. 31 now. I'm on a roll. Oh, what do we have down there? Sweet voice calls out above Takara. She looks up to see a sentient flower looking down at her from atop a 2-story building. Ruffly pink petals surround her waist and shoulders, creating a silhouette of an ostentatious gown. Her head is diamond-shaped like a mantis, accentuated by her arms which also resemble the bug's praying limbs. Her large eyes are wholly black, gleaming in the sun. A wannabe hero? She shakes her head and jumps off the building. Takara flinches, but the bug flower gracefully drifts down to the concrete path like a petal in the summer breeze. She flicks her mantis-like hand, and a projectile comes flying at Takara. The girl raises her arm and deflects it off the crystals, staring affrontedly at the flower in her beady onyx eyes. Listen, I don't know what your problem is, she says, knocking aside another 2 projectiles and narrowly hopping out of the way of a third. But shouldn't you be focusing on fighting the villains right now? Oh, sweetie, the flower coos, strutting forward on legs shaped like rose stems, blood-red thorns poking out of her calves. I am the villain. Takara's eyes widen as long, thorny stems burst from the woman's arms. She tries to run, but the villain is faster. Takara covers her body in crystals as the thorns snake around her. She peeks open an eye and only has a moment to brace herself before more vines grab the destroyed robots and crash them into either side of her. You seem to be a bit tougher than most, the plant woman observes, constricting the stems around her metallic bindings and making the heap of metal resemble a thorn bush. We'll just have to see how long you hold out. Is this even allowed? Takara shouts, cringing from the weight threatening to crush her. She hopes she has time to cut through the stems before her jade gives out. From where her left hand is bound, she can just barely grab the cutting disc from her waistband. If you can't handle it, then why are you here? The woman inquires sweetly. She tisks as if she's disappointed. Takara struggles as the vines cinch around her tighter, but she manages to split a couple of her restraints with the cutting disc. Her jade armor cuts deep into the metal, but threatens to buckle under the pressure. The crystals begin to push back into her skin, and it takes all the strength in her muscles to keep them extended. Leave her alone! A new voice calls out, followed by a whoosh and a wave of heat. The voice seems loud and bold. Takara can't help but think, they sound like a pro hero already. The bug flower screams, and Takara can feel the prickly stems loosening. She begins to smell smoke. Is something on fire? She saws vigorously through the restraints, trying to somehow get the pressure of the robot villains off her. Are you okay in there? Voice calls out, closer this time. It sounds feminine. Just crushed is all, Takara yells back. Can you withstand a little heat? The girl asks. Takara can almost instantly feel the air around her heating up. She makes sure to keep all the jade extended. Light it up! Hell yeah, you're speaking my language. The rose stems wither and snap under the heat. Takara pushes at the robots, finally feeling their colossal weight shifting apart. There you are! Takara can see the sunlight poking through the crushed metal around her. A hazel eye peeks in, and the two girls double their efforts. With the pressure finally off her crystalline armor, the jade recedes back into her skin. Takara sighs and takes a moment to rest her sore muscles. She glances at the tan girl before her with a wild mane of black curls and a confident smile. She wears a tight brown crop top and baggy black sweatpants. Kehlani Morita, she introduces, reaching her hand out. Takara clasps it firmly. Takara Juba. Morita's calloused hand brushes across her own, one future pro to another. Takara looks around for the flower villain. Where'd she go? Morita's hands and feet catch fire, causing Takara to jolt. A couple hits from me and she fled. Now, there's only 2 minutes left and we've got robots on all sides. Let's team up and destroy these suckers. Without another moment wasted, the black-haired girl sprints towards the robots on their right, leaving the group on the left to Takara. Good thing we still have time. I'll make the most of this, she thinks to herself as she leaps back into the fray, taking down her 4 robots while the fiery girl runs straight through her own group, metal melting around her. After Morita has taken down her last villain, she puts her flames out and rests her hands on her knees as she stoops to catch her breath. Takara makes her way over, just in time to see another 3-pointer emerge from an adjacent alleyway and target her new friend whose back is turned. Takara's heartbeat races as the robot attacks Morita, slamming her to the ground and pinning her. She lights herself on fire, but Takara is already in motion, launching herself straight through the robot. She rips and tears out wires, smashing metal and causing it to topple over. Takara punches through the heap of steaming metal, gasping down air. A glance sideways shows the fiery girl sitting up, clutching her side with wide hazel eyes. She smirks, looking Takara over. That was impressive. The chestnut-haired girl offers a hand to help her friend up, hoping she isn't blushing too hard. Time's up! Temex's voice calls from the loudspeakers, signaling the end of the exam. Takara lets her jade crystals recede into her muscles. Morita winces and stumbles, and Takara reaches out to keep her stable. Are you okay? The girl takes a deep breath, her dark lashes fluttering over her cheeks. I just got hit so hard. I think I need to go to the nurse. I'll walk with you, Takara offers, setting off at a gentle pace. You did well out there. She offers Morita a fist bump, which the girl reciprocates. Thanks, you did too, Morita responds with a winded but cheerful exclamation. You do any extra training? Just self-taught stuff, but what about you? You took on that villain like a pro. Morita chuckles. Well, anybody who has a plant quirk generally tries to avoid me. She sets her clenched fist on fire for emphasis. I didn't hurt you when I burned away those vines, did I? Takara shows her bare arms, free from any burns. No, my jade has a super high melting point. It protected me just fine. Jade, huh? The curly-haired girl asks, appraising the proffered arm. What's that stuff on the outside? Just some calcium deposits, Takara explains as they reach the front gates of the exam area. Morita's hazel eyes flick over the jade, and Takara flexes her muscles to push more out, just so Morita can have a better look. Interesting. The girl trails off and taps a piece that Takara had cut, green bands visible. Does it hurt to cut it? Takara pats her waistband for her cutting tools. She pulls out the diamond wire and grows a long, slender piece of jade from her finger. When it gets a few centimeters long, she saws it off with the wire, presenting it to her friend. Nope, easy peasy. Morita turns the stone over in her hand. It's really pretty. You can keep it, Takara replies, smiling wide. She gestures to herself. I have more than enough. Thanks, Morita chuckles, still examining the crystal. They continue on their way towards the school, listening to the ambient sounds of the campus until Takara voices a question that has been on her mind. Hey, since we're talking about quirks, she starts, and Morita looks over, arching a perfect eyebrow. How come your clothes aren't, destroyed? The girl supplies with a hearty laugh, then grabs her side with a wince. Takara nods, feeling her ears grow red. There's plenty of people out there with fire quirks, so there are some companies and designers that make clothes from completely fireproof fabrics. I can generally find something I like, even though it's not always the most comfortable. Ah, I guess I hadn't thought about that, Takara muses, looking up at the large doors of UA before them. I think I can make it from here, Morita says, still clutching her side. Despite the pain she must be feeling, she gives Takara the brightest smile she can muster. I'll see you at school. Morita winks, and Takara can't fight her smile. For sure. The two wave to each other and part ways.